Where did the son go in the parable of the prodigal son? Answer C. Into another country. The younger son gathered all he had and set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. Distant land symbolizes separation from God, where the son wasted his inheritance through reckless living. The story illustrates how sin leads us away from the Father, but also how God's mercy welcomes back anyone who repents and returns. How many days did Moses spend on Mount Sinai receiving the law? Answer A. 40 days. Moses was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights without eating bread or drinking water. And he wrote on the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments. Moses stayed on Mount Sinai for 40 days and nights in God's presence. During this time, God gave him the 10 Commandments and other laws for Israel. The number 40 in the Bible often symbolizes a period of testing, preparation, or transformation. Who was the first disciple called by Jesus? Answer C. Andrew. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the two who heard what John had said and who had followed Jesus. The first thing Andrew did was to find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah, that is, the Christ." What is the place of eternal punishment called in the book of Revelation? Answer B. The lake of fire. Then death and Hades were thrown into the lake of fire. The lake of fire is the second death. Anyone whose name was not found written in the book of life was thrown into the lake of fire. Whom did young David rescue from the lion and the bear? Answer C. A sheep. But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth." What happened to the tree that Jesus cursed? Answer B. It withered. Peter remembered and said to Jesus, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered." Jesus cursed the barren fig tree because it had leaves but no fruit. The tree withered from the roots, showing a spiritual lesson. Outward appearance without true fruitfulness is empty. It symbolized Israel's spiritual barrenness at that time and reminded believers that God desires genuine faith that bears fruit. How many eyes did the Lamb described in the book of Revelation have? Answer A. 7. Then I saw a lamb, looking as if it had been slain, standing. At the center of the throne, the lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. The lamb in Revelation symbolizes Jesus Christ. His 7 eyes represent the fullness of the Spirit and perfect knowledge. Nothing is hidden from him. The number 7 in the Bible often signifies completeness and perfection, showing Christ's divine authority and all-seeing power. How many plagues did God send upon Egypt before the Exodus? Answer C. 10. God sent 10 plagues upon Egypt to demonstrate his power and to convince Pharaoh to let the Israelites go free. These plagues included turning water into blood, swarms of frogs, gnats, flies, livestock disease, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, and finally the death of the firstborn. The 10 plagues showed God's judgment on Egypt's false gods and his deliverance of his people. Which river became the boundary before entering the Promised Land? Answer: C. Jordan. The Jordan River marked the final boundary for Israel. Before entering the Promised Land, God miraculously stopped its waters so the Israelites could cross on dry ground, just as he had done earlier at the Red Sea. The crossing of the Jordan symbolized a new beginning for God's people and the fulfillment of his promise. What did Jesus say to the storm to calm it? Answer: C. Quiet, be still. He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, Quiet, be still. Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. When a furious storm threatened the disciples on the Sea of Galilee, Jesus demonstrated his authority over nature with just a few words, Quiet, be still. The wind and waves obeyed him instantly. This miracle revealed his divine power and reassured the disciples that even in life's greatest storms, Jesus brings peace. On which day were the stars created? Answer: C. The 4th day. God made 2 great lights, the greater light to govern the day and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars. On the 4th day of creation, God made the sun, the moon, and the stars to give light to the earth and to mark times and seasons. The stars remind us of God's greatness and his power in creation, so vast that he calls each star by name. Psalm 147:4. How many commandments were given to Moses on Mount Sinai? Answer: A. 10 commandments. If you answered correctly, give it a like. And he gave Moses 2 tablets of the covenant law, the tablets of stone inscribed by the finger of God. God gave Moses the 10 commandments on Mount Sinai, written by his own finger on stone tablets. These commandments formed the foundation of God's covenant with Israel and still serve as moral guidance today. They reveal God's holiness and his desire for his people to live in obedience and love. How many stone tablets did Moses receive from God? Write your answer in the comments, and let's move on to the next question. Who was the first person called a prophet in the Bible? Answer: B. Abraham. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you will die. Although Moses and others later became great prophets, the first person in Scripture explicitly called a prophet was Abraham. God gave him this title when he spoke to Abimelech, showing Abraham's special role as an intercessor and a man through whom God's covenant promises would be fulfilled. How many angels came to Sodom to bring Lot and his family out? Answer: C. 2 angels. The 2 angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. God sent two angels to Sodom to rescue Lot and his family before the city was destroyed. Their mission shows God's justice in judging sin and his mercy in delivering the righteous. Lot's deliverance also foreshadows how God saves his people from judgment through his divine intervention. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments which question you liked.